Hello, this is RICKY, the Android Guy. Hey guys, today bringing another episode of Android Weekly, where we answer all of your questions and give you all of the weekly news. If you are new to Android Weekly, we do go over all the live questions at the end of the episode, starting off with the weekly news, and then questions that were emailed to me during the week. So if you're watching this after it's been filmed, just email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com, and I will do my best to answer all of your questions. Do get a lot every week, so please keep that in mind. All right, so in the first story for today, we have a new, essentially, creator of a Shatterproof Screen. So this university essentially has created a replacement for something called ITO, which is currently the main material and coding that is used for all of our touchscreens. However, with this new coding, essentially, it's a new type of it's a transparent film that goes with the touchscreen, and essentially it's really nice because it can actually be bendable, which means that this could essentially solve the breaking of screens problem that we have all been plagued with for a long time. You know, I always tell people, if you really have to think about it, if they can fix the ability of a screen not being able to break and instead bending, then you really have just the solution to most phone replacements. Most phones are replaced through physical damage because of a cracked screen, and that's what usually takes it away. It's just a cracked screen, not necessarily that the phone is bad, but just the cracked screen itself. When you have to replace it, it's usually around $200, which can be really expensive. So that's why people don't usually do it, and they just tend to get a new phone. So it's definitely something that I think is long overdue, and something that, of course, both Samsung and LG are also working on, a phone that can actually not have a broken screen. Speaking of Samsung, we have a leak of the Galaxy F, which, if you have been following, originally it was called the Galaxy S5 Prime, and now they've switched to the Galaxy F series because the F series has been rumored for a long time. It was supposed to take the name Fashion. Here's the thing: this seems completely, and I mean completely, fake to me. Does not seem real whatsoever. I just don't buy it, and this is why. This seems like a metal backing you can buy online, and very easily, I might add. It just does not seem legit at all. And this is my opinion. Okay, so we've seen it like indoors now, and supposedly this is a speaker. I don't think it's a speaker. I think it's a little tag that a lot of these phones tend to have at the bottom. But that's another thing. That's like, oh, well, see, now they put the speaker on the bottom, so it's not on the top, or Of course, trying to say all these essential things about the device. So that's one. And then we saw it again outside. So these are outside photos of the phone. I do not believe this is real. It just doesn't look real to me. Again, it could totally be. But here's my argument for it. I can order this backing right here. It doesn't have the Samsung written on it, but there are different versions of it that do have the Samsung written on it. There's different versions that have the Galaxy S5 written on it, or I'm sure you can get one that has the Galaxy F written on it. But this is my argument. It just doesn't seem feasible. They've had a lot of aluminum cases that look legit, like this one. This one obviously said for the Galaxy S5, so it was a lower grade quality one, but this is completely aluminum. And so, this was, and I put this on my Instagram a long time ago. It was just a casing, but yeah. So there are plenty of these that you can get. So I do not believe by any means that this is real. Again, that's my opinion. Who knows? If I can be completely wrong and this might be real, I just don't see it. Do you guys really believe this is real? I don't. And then finally, OnePlus is finally sending out their invitations. Quite frankly, I don't know what took them so long, but check your inbox. First invites are on the way, and kind of just like letting everyone know, like, oh my God, the first invites are on their way. We'll see. You know, it's really something where I'm curious if it will finally come out. I myself do want, of course, the 64 gig for $349, but will it come out? Who knows? We'll see. I'm really curious, but I am not just overwhelmingly optimistic about it at this point. And then I thought this was really funny. So FaceTime now allows for audio conference calls. The reason why I think this is so funny is because it shows you how far behind Apple again is compared to Google. Google just added even sketching ability, so you can draw something and everyone can see it. The reason why I say everyone is because Google has long had the ability for everyone to use Google Hangouts. As you know, this is what I'm using. So if I wanted to ever have other people be on the Hangout, it would be like, you know, 5 people or something like that, and it's already a conference. And instead of just doing audio, we can do video as well. So video and audio. And again, this is something that Hangouts has had forever, and Apple still doesn't have. You know, they're still outdated even compared to things like Skype, which again have been surpassed by Hangouts as well. So I just think it's interesting that it's so backdated, and like Apple's like, oh, look what we can do now, when Hangouts have had this forever. But to be fair, I think that's a lot of iOS 8. A lot of iOS 8 was celebrating things that have already existed on Android that are now being celebrated on iOS 8, which, again, we've done it before. And finally, this was kind of a neat feature that Google has added to Google Now. So if you are doing public transportation, it'll essentially tell you, hey, you know, you need to get off here. If it basically realizes that you haven't moved, or basically you're on this route, it'll kind of remind you, hey, get off, kind of thing. So like if you went to sleep or something like that, then it kind of wakes you up. So that was a cool feature. Not as much news, simply because, you know, I just did the news 2 days ago, so not as much news as from before. All right. Now we go to the weekly questions that were asked, and there's 5 of them. As soon as I finish answering those, I will get to any questions you guys have in the comment section down below. So if you guys have any questions that have not been answered, please feel free to ask them in the comment section down below. All right. Charles Rice asks, hey, Ricky, do you think Samsung is going to be better than Apple in 2 years, or do you think Apple might come back with something better than Samsung? So the reason why I wanted to pick this one out is because a lot of people have a misconception of Apple, and that is that one of my friends and all that, we always have arguments and everything like that, and he always is like, and just this past weekend he's like, bro, what's the best smartphone? What's the top selling phone of all time? I'm like, a Nokia phone. And then he was like, smartphone. Yeah, the iPhone 5S. Nothing has sold as much of it. I'm like, we don't have any. And I made this very clear. There is not one statistic on sales for the iPhone 5S. Not one. There's not one statistic that's ever been released about hard fact iPhone 5S data. And he tried to say, oh, well, no, they sold like 53 million. And I was like, no, they didn't. They sold, you're trying to think of 53 million iPhones, which was wrong and everything like that. So it was a whole conversation. But I was like, Apple isn't number one on anything. They're not number one on anything. And that's what I made very clear. It's like, you have to realize, they're not the top selling smartphone in the world. Samsung is. They're not. They didn't even sell. There wasn't one phone that was the top selling from Apple last year either. When we did get 2 years ago, when we did get statistical information for the iPhone 5, the S3 and the S4 have been the top selling phones the last 2 years as a year. So in 2012, 2013, each time it was a Samsung device that sold more phones than anyone else in the world. Now, Apple has the weekend numbers, but again, that was with the iPhone 5. With the iPhone 5S and 5C, they combined 2 phones. So, and they never released them separately either, which was for obvious PR reasons. Don't get me wrong, Apple will never do that. But in general, so like, is there something that, you know, can we see a more clear winner, you can say, in the next 2 years? And I do feel that as time goes by, Apple fans are wavering. And what I mean by that is that they are starting to be like with iOS 8. Oh man, like, you know, it's really hard to defend iOS 8. It's really hard to be like, oh man, that revolutionary stuff. Nah, even really Apple fanboys were just like, all right. And don't get me wrong, Apple did a different take this year. They did it more for developers. You know, new code language. They did it more for developers this year, and that's where they fell flat with consumers. So, you know, and that's the thing about Apple is that I think their wow factor is wavering. However, I think the truer testament will be the end of this year. And the reason why is because Apple is going to release their iPhone Air and their 2 iWatches, whereas Samsung is going to release their Note 4 and something, I'm sure. I mean, you know, the rumored, what was it, Gear Glass or whatever, the Scouter-looking one that we had on it was like, what, 5 episodes ago, where we saw the blueprint of them having like a Google Glass thing, but on one eye instead. So there's that could be announced this year, or they could very well, in the latest rumor that happened last week, you know, they could be announcing a Gear 3 already, which I think that is going to be the true testament, because wearables is a new technology. Samsung has done very well on it. They sold over 500. They sold 500,000 their first quarter, 800,000 their second quarter, and we don't know what that was Q4 and Q1. So, you know, Q2 is going to end this quarter, and supposedly, you know, the new gears that were in Q2 sold even better than the original gear. Rightfully so, if you think about it, just for the sheer fact of its compatibility. When the new gears came out, they worked for an S-series device, which sell more than the Note series. But so I'm really curious to see. I think that is going to speak to what you mean in terms of maybe like the wow factor and the popularity. Because again, Apple has lost market share year over year. They are selling less. No matter what anyone says, in terms of percentage-wise, they're declining. In terms of phones being sold, they are increasing, but it's because they're at lower cost now. You know, Apple is doing things that they never did before under Steve Jobs, which is let's get more phones out there instead of let's have high profit margin. This is something they never did with Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs never cared for, but Tim Cook is doing. So that's a little bit background, and again, we'll see kind of what happens. All right, Stuart Little Silencer Jr. asks, how can I get Wi-Fi tethering on my Galaxy Tab 3 Wi-Fi version, or get free internet access? Well, Stuart, there's not really. I mean, you have to go to a Wi-Fi location essentially. You have to go to a place that has free Wi-Fi. If you do not have free Wi-Fi at a place, then what you kind of have to do is basically, if you have a cell phone with 3G or 4G internet, you can get something called Foxfi, which I do have. I have videos for it, explain how to use Foxfi. And Foxfi allows you to have a free hotspot. So, say for me, I have a Verizon phone that I do not pay a monthly service for their hotspot, but I do have Foxfi, which gives me a free hotspot, and it's just that easy. So Foxfi gives you a free hotspot for your device. CD Riley asks, Charles, will the LG Pro come to the U.S. market? If so, will T-Mobile carry it? Thanks for your dedication and hard work. Thank you. Hold on a second. So, will the LG G Pro come to it? Um, I I'm honestly not sure about that. And it's because of the fact that if it were, it should have already. It should have come out already if it was, and it was supposed to. LG, when they announced the G Pro 2, said, "Hey, the G Pro 2 is coming to replace the Flex. Essentially, it's coming to the U.S. in April because I think it was released in March in Korea, and it was supposed to come to the U.S. in April. Never did. So my guess is that they kind of had second thoughts about it, and they didn't say that the G Pro 2 was going to replace Flex, but if you think about it, it's after the same market. It's big screen phone, and the G Pro 2 was better. Plain and simple, it was better than the Flex in every way. It just didn't have the bendable screen, but any other way, it was better. So would it? I think if it would have came, it would have came already. I think the reason that you're not going to see it in the U.S. is simply for the fact that it would be the Flex has already been a loss. It would have been more of a loss if they had replaced it right away. So that's what I think happened. I think they had plans to bring it to the U.S., but they did not, simply for that reason, and that's because it would have been considered more of a loss. All right, guys, I have two more questions to get through. If you do have any questions, ask them in the comment section down below, and I will get to them right after. All right. How do you connect your Note 10.3? I'm guessing 10.1 tab 3 or 10. I'm not sure. Your Note 10.1 to TV wirelessly. So, I think I have it right here. Yes, I do. Awesome. So how do you connect any Samsung product to a TV wirelessly? You get this. This is a Samsung AllShare adapter. And what an AllShare adapter does, it's called the AllShare Cast dongle to be more appropriate. There we go, AllShare Cast dongle. And so what you do with this one is it connects through micro USB and full-size HDMI. You have a little light that blinks right here, and essentially when you connect it to your TV, it's waiting for a connection. On your phone or tablet, you do screen mirroring, or some older phones would have screen mirroring, or some older phones will have the other option, which is AllShare. No, not AllShare. AllShare Cast. So if you have that, and then basically this connects to it wirelessly, and the great part about it, it does not need a Wi-Fi connection. This is something that I know Apple's recently. No, they didn't do it. It was recently rumored to be with Apple TV, but if I recall, they didn't actually do it with no Wi-Fi connection. Which this has never needed a Wi-Fi connection, so it can stream 1080p, not 1080i, and it can do 1080p with AllShare, and it was great. I remember when I was at I went over to my friend's house, and for the situation, we didn't have like regular cable in that area, so he's like, "Man, I just want to watch the Kings game," and so I was like, "Oh." I pulled up my app, NBC Extra Live, and so I played the game and then used this to connect it to the TV that he had. So we were able to watch it there. Nikki, I don't want to mispronounce the last name. Nikki S. Asked, I got a Galaxy S5. If you have notifications on it but just have the sound. Oh, is it possible to just have the notifications on but the sound off? Absolutely. So you're coming from an iPhone, and it was different from there. Yeah, so there's multiple ways of doing it. Go to it. So there's multiple ways of doing it. The first one is just when you go to your device, you go to Sound. Oops. And you go to you go to default notification sound. And when you go to default notification sound, there's silent. So once you do that, that'll be it. You won't get a sound from your notification anymore. It's just that easy. Now, just letting you know, you brought up something like Gmail, for instance. Well, Gmail actually will allow you to do it personally. So say if you wanted other notifications to have sound but not Gmail, well, you can actually have it not have a sound for Gmail or a different sound. So I can actually have Gmail have its own sound or not. Or I can have it just vibrate, or I can have it not vibrate. So these are all different things that you can do for your notifications if you choose to. But yeah, so that's how you can answer your notifications. All right, let's see if we have any viewer questions in the comment section down below that I can start answering. Kronos DB, hey Kronos, asked a question about applications like WhatsApp. If I send a text message to someone through the app, do they have to have the same app in order to receive it, or will it go through as a stock text messaging app? I don't use WhatsApp. I've just heard too many issues with it, although I know it's very, very popular. But say for Google Hangouts. So for Hangouts, I have the ability to either, yes, send them either a text message or a Hangout instant message. And Hangouts does separate the two. So I can send someone, say, my girlfriend. I have her number and her Hangout. So I can instant message her, or I can text message her. Both go through Hangout. So one app controls them both. Just the way, like, for Apple they do on iMessage, it's been the same thing on Hangouts. So yes, in that situation you would. Again, I don't use WhatsApp, so I can't say that that's the exact same way it does. But if it's like Hangouts, then yes, it should. It should distinguish between text message and instant message, and you do them both there. You don't have to have either. You don't have either one. And I use Hangouts especially because in my house I have horrible internet, horrible cell phone service. So I use Hangouts as my like I video chat with my girl instead of calling her. Or now I also, we can just voice chat. So I can voice chat through my computer, or I could voice chat through my phone in order to talk to her. So yeah, so you have that ability in order to complete your messages and calls and everything like that. All right, so far that's the only message I have, guys. If you guys have any other questions, ask them now in the comment section down below. If not, we'll wrap it up early, which is fine by me. I did about an hour session last time, so if we do it a little under half an hour this time, that's the way it'll go. But I'll wait a couple more seconds. Yeah, guys, just so you know, I will be moving within the next 2 months, so going to go through that process. So I'm going to love it because I'm really looking for a 2-bedroom, so I'm going to have a 1-bedroom just for filming. So I feel like I'll be able to do videos more quickly, as well as the ability to have like a decent background. I'm going to set the background up and everything like that, so it's just not going to be in this kind of open room. I want to set it like against the wall or curtains back there. I'm going to come up with something nice for you guys. So yeah, I really am excited about that and the experience to go through. I'm going to be moving in with my girl. I'm going to try to get her on some of these videos, but she says no, so we'll see. Are NFC payments dead? No. And here's the thing. One thing I will give Apple credit to is that they popularize things very well because of their marketing. So I do believe as soon as Apple does their own NFC payments, you're going to have things like ISIS and Google Wallet become more and more popular. ISIS has already pretty much gained a good amount of traction. I would say ISIS did a better job than Google Wallet at its marketing, and it's because carriers in the U.S. back it up. Carriers in the U.S. have really backed it up. But I mean, NFC is the main form of payment in countries like Korea and Japan. It's how they pay for everything. So I think it's more are NFC payments dead in like the U.S. or Europe or something like that. But it has to take the right kind of marketing and everything like that. I don't think Samsung has really cared enough to promote their own, which was Samsung Wallet. I don't feel that that's been cared enough to do that. But yeah, I believe it's going to be I believe it's going to be the same. I believe Apple will popularize it as soon as they get NFC payments on their device, and then it's going to grow bigger and bigger. That like, oh, once it's marketed well, which it just hasn't. Google Wallet was not marketed well. No one, hardly anyone even knows about Google Wallet still to this day. And it's just Google didn't market it. I mean, they market their Nexus tablet devices much better comparing to it, and they're starting to market their Play Store really well. I'm seeing billboards for the first time. I'm seeing commercials for the first time for their Google Play Store, as well they should. Google is a content-based service, but still you always hear about, oh, where do you get your music? Do you get it from iTunes? Do you get it from Torrent? Or do you get it from Amazon? Those are like the places that are known. I get all my music from Google Music. Do other people know about Google Music? No. And that's the thing. Google needs better marketing, in my opinion, when it comes to public eye. And I get it. I mean, most of their marketing is on YouTube because it's free for them. And this is like a $10 million marketing campaign that they will pay nothing for. So it's smart that they do marketing through YouTube. And that's how that. But yeah, I feel that once a NFC payment is really marketed well, that it will be popular in the U.S. and in Europe as well. So yeah, I feel that it's gonna really step it up for that most part. Let's see, any other questions, guys? No? All right. Yeah, so hopefully we will. So we're gonna have our other Android Weekly. Hopefully, Android Weekly will not have any more issues of filming on Sunday. I might do a video on kind of like what day you guys would most like it to be filmed, because I mean Sunday was just a day that I picked out. I don't work that day and everything. That I didn't see it as that much of a problem on Friday, and we had a lot of viewer questions live that day. So maybe we'll do something like that, like you guys pick which day Android Weekly is, and as long as I can do it, we'll do it to that day. Alright guys, thank you for watching as always, and if you have any other questions that didn't get answered this week, just email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com and I will answer them next week. Thank you for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.